Good morning, guys. I'm trying out some new settings on my OBS system to stream here. We had a great SyncEdge live Q&A just the other day on Saturday, but the video was still very jittery. The audio was fine, but the video, I thought I had fixed the video with my new internet connection setup, but it didn't look like it did fix it. Right now, it's already looking a lot better, and basically what I had to do is just scale it down from 1080p to 720. But whatever, it's still HD. And as long as it fixes the stuttering problem, then I think I'll just make sure I always have my OBS system set up this way so that it's just always nice and smooth for you guys. I want to make sure that I have really high quality video, or as high quality as I possibly can. For those of you that didn't catch that before, I've had a massive problem with getting high speed internet at my house. It's just, I don't know, it's been very strange. I don't feel like I'm living in the sticks, but I've been trying to get so many different internet providers to give me high-speed internet, and I had a massive problem with Spectrum. It just was not continuously giving me internet access. It would work for a day, and then it would cut out. And I'd have them come out. You know, I had them come out probably 5 or 6 times, fix it, great, it works. 2 days later, it doesn't work. So, and they could never figure it out. They literally, we did new wires, we had new hardware, everything you can imagine. We basically ripped the entire neighborhood up, essentially trying to figure out what was going on. They couldn't figure it out, so I had to cancel with them, unfortunately. And so now I'm using a hotspot, actually, a Netgear hotspot, which actually it's interesting because now I'm completely reliant on the cell networks that are close to me. And in the mornings, I notice that my speeds are like super fast. I'm getting 80, 90 megabits upload, usually 10 to 20 upload. Sorry, I don't know if I said download before, but download before, upload 10 to 20. So definitely good enough to be able to do high def streaming and that kind of thing. But I find as the day goes on towards the afternoon, when more and more people are up and using their phones and getting data, it starts to really slow down. Still fast enough for me to be able to do what I need to do, but I'm finding that the mornings are actually much, much faster. So that's why I probably will. And I've always done, if you guys have been following me for a while, I usually do these live Q&A things in the morning. I do my SyncEdge Q&As are usually at 9 a.m. on Saturdays. So I've always been more of a morning person anyways. You know, here we are at 7:30 in the morning, my time here in the Pacific time standard. So I'm usually just in the morning anyway, so it works out great for me in my schedule. But this is also just a test just to see how it's working. So let's say what's going on to you guys. Waltz, good morning. Blipblop, EKM, Bartek, Michael, Mix Club, Zach, D Sweeter. Good morning, guys. Well, feel free. I'm going to be here for just a little bit. I don't know how long today, but I definitely have some free time. I was going to do an interview this morning for my podcast, but we had to reschedule it for tomorrow. It's a very, very important guest, very, very connected individual. I'll just put it that there. I'm not going to spoil it. Obviously, I don't want to get ahead of myself and announce guests before they're actually on the podcast and I have the video and audio recorded, because I don't want to let you guys down. So, but yeah, I think we're going to get it done tomorrow, and hopefully if that all works out, I'll be able to either release it this Friday or the following Friday. For those of you that don't know, I have launched a podcast. It's been going great. I've been getting some great feedback from you guys. Thank you so much for that feedback. And most importantly, please keep those reviews coming. It seems like for me personally, I don't use a bunch of different podcasting apps, so I don't know exactly how all of those platforms work, but it seems like the Apple Podcast app is the one where you can actually leave the review. So if you haven't left me a review yet on the Apple Podcast app, or the Apple Music app, however you're getting your podcast through them, please do take a minute just to leave me a quick review. I mean, literally it takes like a minute, maybe even less. It's what's going to help me to attract new producers, composers, artists, bands, people that really could use this stuff in their careers, and it can actually help them to at least add, sometimes maybe not their full-time focus, but maybe just to add a secondary source of income to their career. So I definitely want to make sure that this is as visible to as many people as possible. And for you guys that, you know, are getting this great content, that's all I'm really asking for you guys. Please just leave me that review. I'd really appreciate that. So please do take a couple minutes at some point in the next couple days to do that. Let's see. V Rich, what's up? Skywolf. All right. We already got some questions coming in. Cool. Let's see. Bartek. What is the easiest genre to get placements? Easiest? You know, I don't know if I can give you a particular one genre, but I would say the best genre to get placements would be the one that you're the best at, okay, for you. So if you're I don't know what genre you produce, but if I just said hip hop, but you're a rock producer. Should that mean that you should just abandon rock and go to hip hop? No, because if it's not your like primary focus, don't go do that. Okay, so I would say rather than thinking about which one of these genres is the easiest to get placements, you should be thinking about it differently in terms of what genre do you feel that you bring the most value to, right? The strongest and most impactful, most emotionally and most professionally produced music. Can you, like, which genre can you really specialize in? And then go find those libraries that you can really tackle that particular genre with. That's going to be your way to success. If you guys haven't seen Bartek, for sure, if you haven't seen, I have a tutorial. It's actually a Sync Academy tutorial that I released for free here on my channel about how to select your genre, like which, I think it's called which genre should you specialize in. So look that up on my channel. About a 30-minute presentation. It will clear up any of your confusion in terms of which genre should you be focusing on. I give you this whole list of what you really should be considering in terms of which one do you, I know as producers, I definitely understand it. I love many different styles of music, but I don't compose in many different styles of music. I really only compose in the ones that I feel I can bring the most value to. All right. Michael, since the release of this sounds and plugins tutorials, that's plugins and palettes, yeah. Are you aware of any good Black Friday deals? No, personally, I haven't been following that yet, but we're still maybe, you know, a couple weeks away from that. Obviously, you'll probably see more of the Cyber Monday sort of deals, but yeah, sure, some of them will be Black Friday. But what you can do if you have access to the plugins and palette series, if you guys are in Sync Academy, is obviously watch those tutorials and preview and check out the links that we have for each one of those samplers plugins and just shortlist them, bookmark them, and then you need to be keeping your eye on those ones and making sure you are aware if they are going to be offering any Cyber Monday or Black Friday deals. Some of them will be advertising that on their website, so definitely just go check those out and bookmark them. Get on their mailing list. Some of these companies have great mailing lists where they'll let you know when they have these sales going on. Zell, working on my first library submission day. Wish me luck. Good luck, man. Tom, good morning. Flip Flop, you're here from the 5-day music library video course. Awesome, man. Yeah, my free 5-day course. If you guys, anybody's new watching this and you haven't gone through my 5-day course, syncmymusic.com/free course. Go there right now, sometime today. You can watch all of them at once if you want to. At the end of each video, there's a link to watch the next one, or I will just email you the link to watch each one in 5 days. So some of us, I know you have less time than others. So you can watch them at your convenience. You can rewatch them as many times as you want. It clears out a lot of the bits of confusion that a lot of people have in terms of getting started in this business. Awesome. Thanks, Gary. I'm having fun with the podcast, man. We'll see how it goes, but so far so good. We've been getting a lot of great guests and a lot of great stuff coming on board for it. All right. Black Legend video. Is there a particular format that my music needs to be in, like changes every 4 bars, etc.? I don't know if I could give you a particular, like, yes, every 4 bars you must have something new, but you absolutely are tapping into the key golden rule there, which is that your track does need to evolve and it does need to develop. So I think a lot of producers, when they've been kind of in, you know, shopping tracks to artists or rappers or something like that, they just put their verse down, copy and paste the same 4 bars 16 times, go to the chorus, repeat that next chorus, and they basically just copy and paste that entire verse chorus section 3 times and they hit bounce and that's their track. In sync licensing, you're going to have to do a little bit more than that. You're going to have to actually provide changes and evolution and a development, a sense of development and forward progression as the track moves forward. So when you get to that second verse, you got to give me something new that I haven't heard on the first verse. Could be a new instrument, change up the drums, new percussion, new lead. You know, you could do a bunch of different things. You have to make that creative choice, but you shouldn't be ever duplicating really any section of your track twice. Why? Well, because anybody who's going to place your track in a reality show, they also have what is this amazing tool called copy and paste. They can cut your verse, if it's these 4 bars, and go, you know what? I want this verse, but I want it to last for a full minute. They have an ability to cut an audio file and repeat it as many times as they need to, okay? So you don't need to do that work for them. What you need to do is essentially think about when you give them one track, you want to give them, you know, basically 8 to 9 separate sections within that one track. So they have 8 to 9 different options. Giving the editor, the music editor, the supervisor, whoever's placing your music, giving them these options to use your track in multiple ways, that's what's going to make them not only obviously fall in love with the track because it's going to make their lives easier, but that's how you're going to get on short lists for a lot of these, you know, supervisors, audio editors, showrunners, or maybe not showrunners, but people that are responsible for actually gathering this music and placing it into a TV show, movie, or commercial. they're going to put your name on a short list because they're going to say every time we use this composer's tracks, they have all these options for us. It makes our life so much easier, and we don't have to worry about something getting too repetitive or loopy. So yeah, it does take a little bit extra effort, but I don't know if I could tell you like, yes, every 4 bars, 100%, that's where you should make the switch. Depends on the tracks. Some tracks, it can be 8 bars, it can be 16 bars. Obviously, if you have a slower, emotional kind of pad-driven track, you might not be able to do something very new in 4 bars. So kind of depends on the circumstances of what you're composing there. Darian Johnson, when will a TV show submit their cue tracks to the PRO? I heard one of my tracks last night in a TV series. Oh, awesome, man. Congrats. I mean, it varies from what I've heard with TV shows. Most of the time, it's before it's hitting air. And most of the time, they're going to be having to submit that cue sheet before, basically, as soon as they wrap up the show and say, okay, you know, the producer, the executive producer, the director, whoever has to give the final say on it, yes, we're 100% good on the edits, the music, you know, the credits and all that kind of stuff. Like everything's been basically, what do they call that? Quality controlled, right? It's gone through a process of making sure that it's exactly what they want. That's usually the time when they're going to be submitting that cue sheet to the PROs. Now, obviously, is that across the board for every single TV show? I'm sure there are circumstances where people get lazy or they forget to do it or, you know, whatever, and things can take a while. A lot of times, unfortunately, this is sometimes left in the hands of interns. Why do I know that? Because that was one of my jobs when I worked for a music video company. I worked for International Music Feed, IMF. It was Universal Music Group's music video channel on Dish Network, and I worked there many years ago. And I started out as an intern, and that was one of my jobs, was to get the music cue sheet and send it off to the PROs. So luckily I did it. I was a composer myself, so it was something, and I obviously wanted to get a job there, and I eventually did. So I took it very seriously, but there might be some interns or some people that aren't so, you know, right on top of it. So, but yeah, it just sort of depends on what's going on with the TV production company. You're welcome, Eric. I'm glad you're getting value out of what I do, man. D, Sweeter. A lot of people say my rap beats would be awesome in video games and such. I don't really know if I should shoot for sync licensing or beats. Well, go through my free course, D. That's what I would say. syncmymusic.com/free course, or just syncmymusic.com. At the very top, you'll be able to get access to it too. Watch those 5 videos, man. Like, once you realize what it's going to take to succeed in this business, to really do well, to turn it into first part-time and then eventually full-time income, I think you'll know if it's going to be something good for you. Okay, if you feel like you've got something to offer this industry, and you feel like you might be excited about doing something like this, watch those 5 videos, because I do try to scare away a lot of people that might not be a good fit for them. So by the end of those 5 videos, if you feel more like, I don't think that's for me, then good. At least you have that crossed off your list. This is not a path you want to go down to. However, at the end of the 5 videos, if you're like, dude, this is great, I really want to do this, I think I can actually provide some value to this industry, and I think I can do well, and there you go. It might be something you should start taking more seriously. So that's what that free course is really about, to get for you guys to really decide if it's something you should be dedicating a lot of time and energy to. All right, Tommy Audio, getting ready to release an album independently for licensing. How important is Red Book status, mastering, ISRC codes, etc.? Seems like it might be overlooked in self-release music a lot. Red Book status mastering, you have to inform me on what that is. I've never actually heard of that. But as far as ISRC codes, that is not going to be relevant for licensing, because those are used for when you're selling your music, right? Through iTunes or Google or any of these online places where there's going to be a sale, a transaction. You're going to need to have those codes to track sales. Well, with licensing, we're not selling any music. We're actually just licensing. It's basically giving we're like renting our tracks out, essentially. And so that's when we do a sync license. Okay, so that's going to be a contract that's going to allow for sometimes an upfront fee, and then almost every single time the back end royalties. But we're not tracking sales, because there's no songs being sold here. There's no tracks that are being actually sold to consumers or anything like that. So it's not exactly relevant in this side of the business. All right, Cigar Face, howdy. I love your name there. Walt, if I select 5 libraries to submit to, would sending the same album to all of them be a bad idea when just trying to get accepted, or would having multiple albums be better? Yeah, I don't recommend you submit the same album to 5 different exclusive libraries and see who bites, because you might actually end up finding that some of these libraries you will work with down the road. And so what you don't want to do on day one is send basically the same exclusive offer to 5 different companies. Let's say 3 of them get back to you, and now you have to go back to 2 of them and go, sorry, just kidding. I sent that to another library and I'm going to go with them. So I don't have anything for you. it doesn't put you on a good foot first start, a good foot with them. It's like you did a bait and switch. You offered them something, and then when they bit, you said, sorry, can't sell that to you. How would you feel if somebody did that to you? So that's why I recommend you go with one library at a time. You have one and you do your research. You don't just send it out to a bunch of different companies and hope something sticks. You need to know exactly why you're sending your music to this particular library, who their clients are, how your music really fits in well with their catalog, and if your music will be actually useful for them, okay? That's what Sync Edge is all about. If you guys have looked or seen anything about what I offer with my Sync Edge program, that is what I'm doing for you guys, is telling you and giving you my research. Here's a library. Here's the library's clients. Here's who they serve, the kind of placements that they get, also with the genres that are very relevant and useful for them. And here's what their catalog looks like. How would your music fit in with them? And so I help you analyze every single library that's recommended in the Sync Edge program. So you can decide, yeah, I think actually I have music that's relevant, on par, quality, and will be very useful for them and the clients that they get. Because getting accepted by a library is great, but if you're not sending them music that they're going to be getting a lot of placements, or at least high quality placements, quantities as well, what's the use of having your music collect dust on some library's catalog? Plenty of composers have music out in the system, but that doesn't mean that they're actually getting placements, right? You want to be getting placements. So Sync Edge not only gets you that acceptance, but it also puts you on a path towards getting consistent placements and becoming that inner circle, very relevant composer for each library. All right, V-Rich Vibes. How do I switch PROs? You're going to need to call your PRO and ask them when your release date is. They're going to give you a 3-month window. You need to make sure that you follow their guidelines, you send them the proper paperwork, then you can get out. So you need to call, if you're ASCAP, BMI, or anywhere in the world, call your PRO, ask them, when can I cancel? What's my cancellation date? When am I allowed to get out? And what's the process? What paperwork? What do I have to sign? All that good stuff. Every PRO has their own way of doing that. Peter, is it worth to try to make connections with music directors directly? It's kind of the same thing I say with music supervisors, and I covered that in my last podcast, so definitely go listen to that episode. I talk about the difference between working with music libraries versus music supervisors. Music directors, I think, are in the same category as music supervisors for many reasons, so definitely listen to that podcast if you haven't yet. Knight Rider, hey Jess, you love your stuff. Busy getting the boys out for school, so I can't join in, but sending you the respect to reserve. Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. We'll see you in the academy. Absolutely. EKM, I recently got royalties for tracks I haven't submitted to. Other than streaming platforms. Is there a way to trace where they got placed? My statement only says US. I'm in Canada. Other than streaming, so you got placements from you got placements from streaming platforms. I guess that's what you're saying there. I don't know. I mean, whatever information you can get on that royalty statement is what you're going to be able to get. So there's probably not much more info you can get off of that. All right. Sinus sounds. Hey, Jesse, thank you for putting so much time into helping those who want to get into the sync industry. Do you know of any music libraries interested in Christian vocal tracks? Christian, I get this question a lot. Christian music is not one of the most most requested genres out there, just because go watch cable, go watch TV. How many Christian themed networks are there? Not many. How many Christian themed tracks are out there? Not many. But what I would say for you is you can still have there's a very similar uplifting, motivational, inspirational, even spiritual theme to your lyrics, to what you're singing. But if you want to get the most amount of placements, I'm just telling you the truth. Some people really don't like to hear this. You can't have specific mentions of Jesus, God, the Bible. You can't have the specific Christian related references, because most TV shows out there are not going to want those kind of references, because it's not going to be applicable. It's not that they're like anti-Christian or anything like that, but it's not going to be applicable for the particular scene. Like maybe there's a scene of somebody who's really lost their way in life and they want to, get back on track. They just need something that's inspirational, motivational, finding themselves, finding their true purpose in life. These can all be sort of dovetailed with a very Christian-like theme, but if you use those specific references in your lyrics, you're going to be sort of placed outside of the realm of getting, you're not going to be considered for the placements, if that makes sense. So keep the same kind of themes, probably have a better chance of getting a lot of placements. So, but specifically just Christian music, using Christian references and Christian words, that kind of a thing, it's just not going to get you a lot of stuff in this industry, just because there's not a lot of Christian content that is out there on TV, and you obviously know that. All right. All right, Wish Newski. Morning, Jesse. Did you have any advice, experience in making sound effects sets of sound effects for a game, app, or physical device? I don't have any experience in that, so I can't really give you any advice on creating sound effects or anything like that. Black Legend, in terms of if you want to get video game placements, you're not going to probably go directly to a video game company to send them your music. There could be exceptions to that rule where some of them will be open to that, but most of the time you're going to need to go to a music library to get accepted by them, and then you need to go to a library that has video game clients. The people that make video games can library or one video game company. You only have a certain amount of tracks you're going to be able to offer them, and then they have to put you under contract, get the music from you, clear it, all that kind of stuff. Usually video games are not in the industry of clearing music. They're in the video game publishers, developers. They're not in the business of clearing music. They're in the business of creating video games. They go to a music library to do those kind of things. So I recommend for all you guys that want to get in with video games too, you definitely still want to go with the music library direct, the route of using a music library. All right. Parodies. Are you knowledgeable about parody? Talking about parodies like, making fun of a song, or is that a particular company? I don't know what you mean there. Mr. King, what do you recommend for people that don't have money for the month-to-month payments? I don't know. Are you talking about my services like Sync Academy, Sync Edge? Just do your own. First of all, watch every video that I've ever put out on YouTube. I've put so much information out there through this free platform right here. So this is definitely one great, literally just binge watch all of my videos and all the different topics that I've done. But the best thing you can do is really just get into your studio and produce music, and and use reference tracks, follow in the footsteps of somebody that has some great licensable music that you want your tracks to sound like, A/B compare how they produced, how they mix, all that kind of stuff. The best thing you can do is not get too bogged down into educational videos or tutorials or anything like that, even free stuff, even mine on my channel, but just actually doing the work. You got to have your fingers on your keyboard, your ears listening to your speakers. You have to actually get that kind of those. You got to put your hours in essentially in your studio to get better at producing licensable music. All right. Good morning, Brad. All right, Joshua, I want to sign up with my name under a PRO, but what do I do if I want to come up with a brand? Do I have to sign a brand name separately under the PRO? Well, your relationship with a PRO probably should just stay with your legal name, your actual name, because you're talking about earning royalties, you're talking about getting payments, which also means you're talking about taxes and reporting things. So you're going to want to just keep your legal name associated with a PRO. Branding, you can brand your website however you want. If you have a social media presence, you can brand yourself in any way you want. The only reason why, having your brand associated with ASCAP or BMI won't do anything for you, because who does ASCAP care if you have a brand or a personal name associated with your account or anything like that? They just want to know, who are you, what's your IPI number, and let's make sure you get paid, right? It's just more of a transactional relationship. So branding is much more of a focus you should have about your followers or fans or people in the public, right? So that would be where your website and social media presence could be. You could create your brand around that. But when it comes down to your royalties and tax payments, you're going to have to keep your legal name. I think you have to actually with BMI or ASCAP or any PRO, because we're talking about, basically 1099s and people sending you money. So they're going to have some sort of a legal name to tie it to, and a social security number, right? You're gonna have to have that kind of stuff covered. All right, Walt, I've been doing a lot of research and started seeing several of the companies asking for at least 10 tracks when submitting. Yep, and guess who's been telling you that now for a couple of months? This guy right here. So going with 2 or 3 tracks might have been relevant 3 years ago, not anymore. You gotta come to the table with a full album, 10 tracks, 12 tracks. I know that's a lot of work. That could be a month or 2 of you putting a lot of effort into your first album that you submit to them, and that's what keeps this industry actually unsaturated. I think some people always worry, like, is it too saturated? There's too many, And one guy the other day emailed me, he's like, Jesse, you have so many followers. Like, I think the problem is that you've probably put so much information out there that there's so many composers, new composers and producers getting into this industry that I don't even know if there's a place for me anymore. And I'm going to put a video out, I've put many videos about that sort of myth. It is a myth. It's only saturated, and this was actually something that I did a podcast with Trevor, and I'll release that one. Trevor's one of our Sync Academy pros. He made a great point, which is that it's only saturated when you're in that 95% of producers that don't want to do a full album, that spam your music to a whole bunch of people, that don't take this very seriously. Yes, if you look around and you're that kind of a producer, it looks very crowded because there's a lot of people doing that, doing it the stupid way, doing it the wrong way, doing it the lazy way, essentially. But if you can dig in and create a full 10-track album, and you can submit a very brief but specifically focused pitch to one particular library and show your professionalism and show and have your own website with your own domain and your own URL, your own custom email address. You do these little things that really sort of are like putting on the suit and coming into the presentation, the business meeting as a professional. That's where like the space is wide open. There are very few producers doing that. Even you guys following me, even Sync Academy members, there are a lot of people that are excited about this business. Very few are actually doing the work that it requires to make a name for yourself in this industry and become a full-time player, okay? So that's the encouragement I would give to you guys. If you're not willing to put in the work, absolutely, it's too saturated. Because how many people on planet Earth are too lazy? Everybody, right? That's the common story for most people. They stick with something for 6 months, didn't work out, didn't have full-time income, I'm out of here, right? People try to start businesses all the time. It just doesn't work out because they don't stick with it, or they didn't have a proven plan for what they're really doing. So as long as you're smart and you're willing to work hard and have a long-term mindset, and go that above and extra, kind of that 10% extra effort, put that little bit of effort in, the sky's the limit. It's wide. The lane is wide open for you. Okay, so for whatever it's worth, that's my 2 cents on the saturation question. I know I'm way behind here. Let's see if we can find where I left off. All right, Kathy. Hey, Jesse, I love all your content. I need to get organized and start building my business model for licensing. Very smart. Very good. I assume starting with the Academy course is the starting place. Yes, absolutely. It can be. So here's how I describe it. Sync Academy essentially does one thing more than anything else. It will give you the tools and the knowledge to be able to start creating licensable music. So if you know you have licensable music and you feel that you're competitive to start submitting to libraries, Sync Academy probably wouldn't be that useful for you. You're already there. But if you have doubts about that, or you're sure that you don't have music that's ready to be submitted to libraries, then yes, Sync Academy would definitely be the starting point for you. And then what I recommend is once you have, let's say, that full 10 or 12 tracks of an album ready to go, that's focused in one genre, ready to be pitched, then if you want to use like the music library directory, which just has all the companies listed in one PDF, but you would have to go do that research yourself. Or you could use Sync Edge, where I basically do that research for you. So that's where you can maybe sign up for one of those things later down the line once you're ready to start submitting. So I do have them as separate services. I do offer them as a bundle, and you actually save if you do sign up for both, because they are complementary. Because if you have great high quality music, but you don't know where to send your music to, that just sits there collecting dust. If you have if you know where to send all your music to, you know exactly how to send a pitch, but your music's not ready to go yet, you also aren't set up for success. So these are meant to be sort of complementary services. So that's why I do offer the bundle deal, if you guys want to get both of them at once. All right, Terrell, welcome. Soccer skills. What do you think about Song Trader? I just discovered it. Song Trader is what I would call a cattle call company, where you're basically submitting tracks to a platform that also has tens of thousands of other producers, artists, bands, that kind of thing. So I kind of see it as more of a, if you want to dabble in sync licensing and you just want to throw up a couple tracks and see what happens, go for it. To this date, I have never met one producer that's made their full-time income or even a significant chunk of their part-time income through Song Trader. I think just the odds are too stacked against you when you join a big platform like that. I mean, they are an international company. They have, whatever, investors. It's a massive organization. So in terms of you wanting to just dabble and not put that much effort into this, I think Song Trader is a great option. I think it's something that you can just throw it out there, see if it sticks with some opportunity that they have. But I don't think it's for somebody that wants to actually have direct personal relationships in this industry. That's why I say go directly to a library, because a Song Trader is basically the middleman, right? They have composers on one end of their business model, and then they have library supervisors, people that need the music on the other end. So they're in the middle here, right? Serving both of those. That's not necessary, though. Just so you guys know, that is not necessary. You don't have to go with a company like that. If you want to, not put in that much work, sure, that's where that would work out. But what I say is just go right around them and submit directly to a music library. That's what I recommend for all my students. That's how my career was built. I did not go through those middleman companies to get placements. I just think, 1 out of 10,000 good luck. You know, when you get with a library, you might be competing with 5, 10, maybe 20 other composers for some opportunities. Even in that group of 20, there's probably only 3 or 4 that are like aggressively always submitting and getting into the inner circle of some of these libraries. So again, your odds are so much better when people know your name, have your email address, they actually talk to you on an ongoing basis, and you know directly what they need from their clients, right? And that's what I say. Definitely just go with music libraries. All right, Terrell, I'm having a hard time to decide what kind of hip hop to do. Does it really matter if I do an album with one theme of the same sounding tracks, or can I have an album of different styles? No, definitely go with one theme, definitely one style. I don't think going with multiple ones is the way to go. You want to have one full album of rap, Dirty South, crunk, excuse me, whatever it is you feel you can bring to the table. Get focused with it. With a lot of people getting in the way, going the way of cutting their cable subscriptions, do ASCAP and BMI have ways of tracking stuff? Like if you have a placement in an ad that gets played on YouTube, Spotify. Yeah, absolutely. And I still get some placements from YouTube placements and Spotify and all that kind of stuff. I have some of my music, not that I distribute it through Spotify, but through some of the libraries that I partnered with. They've distributed some of my music through Spotify. So I do get some royalties from those. Right now, it's pennies. It's really like nothing at all. So yes, they absolutely do. And I get royalties from Hulu and Netflix. I don't know if I've gotten Amazon yet. I have to think. I don't remember seeing Amazon on there, but definitely Hulu, Netflix. I've certainly gotten some royalties through them. Not a lot, definitely not a lot right now though. So still the vast majority of my income, and I think for you guys, is still going to be in the TV world. I know that the cable subscriptions are certainly being cut, and it's on the downtrend. Everybody can see that, but it's not dead. It's certainly not dead, and it's still the vast majority of where the income is coming from right now. D, do you know where YouTubers get their music? I do not, but there's a lot of places online where a lot of people can go get either royalty-free or, cleared music for YouTube. Clearing soccer skilled rap songs. What does clearing mean? Clearing means basically that you are being allowed access or permission to use a song in a particular form, right? So if you've ever had a YouTube channel and you uploaded a copyrighted track, like you tried to put up whatever, a Snoop Dogg song or something in one of your videos, and it instantly gets taken down, that's because you didn't clear it, right? You didn't go to the actual publisher and get clearance to actually put that up there. So it just means that you get permission to use a song in a public format. MK1, do you recommend releasing sync music through CD Baby or DistroKid? Not necessarily, because it's not most, I'd say some. I would say actually most. I would say probably over 50% of exclusive libraries are not going to want to have your tracks out there available for the public to consume through CD Baby or DistroKid or TuneCore or any of those companies, okay? So if you want to go sync licensing, I say do not submit your music through those other publishing outlets first. Just keep them exclusively for sync licensing. If you already have a bunch of music on CD Baby, DistroKid already distributed out there, you can certainly submit it to an exclusive library. Just know you need to let them know that your tracks are publicly available, and they may or may not have an issue with it. Some libraries want exclusive rights to distribute your music. They don't want it anywhere else out there. Some will be, you know what, we don't care. Doesn't matter to us. We love your music that much. We're cool with this. So you just need to let them know. But I don't recommend, if you want to do this full time, you get in a habit of putting your stuff out there in a public format and then going to exclusive libraries, because you're just always going to set yourself up with a little bit of that hurdle getting into their catalog. All right, gonna go down a little bit more. Yeah, some of you guys are going back and forth in the chat with each other, which is cool. Answering questions and all that. The Mix Club. How often do I use my V drums for tracking, or do I find myself using a keyboard or just working on MIDI timeline with your mouse? It depends on the opportunity. This year I've been using a lot more. I don't know if you guys can see. Yeah, probably this way. My V drum kit back there. This year I've been actually plugging it in a lot more. But if I have a deadline, like a couple weeks ago, I had to put out. I think I ended up cranking out 20 rock tracks in a course of a couple of weeks. Yeah, 2 or 3 weeks. It was a lot of work to put together. When I have a deadline like that, I don't have the luxury of plugging that in and like, okay, I didn't get the performance right. I do mostly do it with, I'll hit record, and then I'll actually program it with a keyboard. go back and quantize, change things if I want to mess with some sort of a fill or something like that. So it depends on the timeline. If I'm pressed for a lot of, I need to get a lot of stuff done in a short amount of time, always to the keyboard. If I have some time and I want to get a little bit more, I don't know, I just have the luxury of spending a little bit more time on the drums, I'll plug that in. So it just depends on what I'm working on. Do I use hardware processing or do I use plugins? Everything that I do, other than I do have a compressor. I have the Avalon 737 compressor that I'm using through my mic and that kind of thing for vocals, that kind of thing. Everything else is completely inside the box. All processing is within plugins. All right. Awesome. You're welcome, Jonathan. Thanks for your comment, man. Yeah, Terrell, it's good to just focus on that one style, and it'll actually free you in a way because I think it's there's this paralysis that a lot of producers are in because they're like, I want to do so many different things, they don't know where to really focus on. But once you free yourself of all those other distractions and you just go with the one sound that you really want to get great at, it really actually frees you up to become much more productive because you have a lot of distractions right now if you're thinking about all these different genres you want to produce. All right, just going through some of these. Some of these I've answered so many times, guys. So I can't just answer the same questions over and over again. So if I do skip your question, I'm sorry. But definitely check some of my previous Q&A videos or some of my other videos that I've talked about a lot of these issues so many times. I'm just kind of looking for maybe a new one that I haven't touched on here. All right, Alfonso, what do you think about composing an album mixing different styles but with a purpose placement approach? For example, an album for a sports TV program that mixes epic, orchestral, and rock. Yes, 100% yes. That's the answer. That's exactly how you should be thinking it. You can definitely do a hybrid style where you combine two different genres. And the fact that you're thinking about this is very, very smart, where you're like, I know this is going to be good for sports programming or something. And then you know that this particular library you're submitting to does get sports placements, right? So that you're thinking about this in a very business-minded perspective, and that is very, very smart. That's what most producers are not doing. They're just like, I like this music, spam it to a whole bunch of companies. Maybe you guys can find a reason for it. You can see the difference there, right? You're going to be taken much more seriously with that approach. So 100% correct. Ben, I use an iMac. It's a 2014 one, I think, and it is the 5K monitor. I know I think I have 32 gigs of RAM. I have a lot of RAM. But yeah, it's a Mac. So I am a Mac user. I'm not a Mac fan though. So at least recently, I'm not liking what Mac's doing in the last couple of years. Right, there's one right there. Okay. All right, Skywolf, you have a two-part here. I submitted to a library who said they loved what they heard and I got a contract. I have since had those tracks and others rejected when I auditioned them. Could it be that they're not currently working with clients in my genre? It's possible, yeah. So sometimes when people reject your music, it's not that your music wasn't great or licensable, it's just that it wasn't relevant for them. So it's hard to tell, but if you do your research and you feel like if your music is specifically tailored for their clients and you feel like this is perfect for what you guys do, and they say, oh, sorry, we're not really interested in that, probably is a quality thing, okay? Because if you did your research and you know that this is something they can absolutely get placed with their clients, but they're saying no to it, that's when you probably need to go back to the drawing board and start to improve your producing, mixing, or mastering skills, whatever you feel you might be able to improve the most on. Yeah, so Tommy, when a supervisor is looking for an artist that have a buzz or have some following, that's absolutely something that can be done. Those artists, though, are not trying to do this full time in terms of getting sync licensing to be their full time income. Sync licensing for an artist is basically the secondary or third version of their income stream, right? What's their primary? Probably touring, merchandise, maybe sales, that kind of thing. And then because they have a buzz and a lot of people know about them, this music supervisor goes, cool, I want this music. If you have a buzz and you have tens of thousands of followers and a lot of people know you, and especially in the industry, then definitely they're going to mess with you if you have your tracks out there publicly. I'm just being real. Most of you guys watching this do not have that. Okay, most of you guys are in the process of building that fan base, or you have a small fan base. I'm not saying it's not a great fan base. So I'm talking to those of you that want to make this your primary full-time source of income. You can do other things as well, but if you want this to be primary, okay, then you should be primarily submitting your tracks exclusively to libraries. So hopefully that answers that up. There's nothing wrong with you want to get sales, you want to go on tour, you want to build your fan base. That's great, and then you want to just kind of make yourself available for music supervisors or libraries to be aware of you. Absolutely, nothing wrong with that. The primary focus, though, of what I teach is following in the footsteps of me, and I was just a producer, had a band, but didn't want to do that anymore and just wanted to do sync licensing 100%. So that's why I'm giving you guys this advice that if you want this to be your full-time focus, you got to go directly to libraries and not worry so much about, Spotify and iTunes and all that kind of stuff. All right. Going through some. Thomas, what is your opinion on submitting a 10-track mid-tempo dubstep bass music style album? I mean, if it's relevant for who you're sending to, absolutely. I'd be careful about the mid-tempo. Make sure that it's not like slow and it's not too draggy. So I made that mistake and I made some really slow dubstep music a long time ago, and it's always been sitting on a hard drive and never got any placements. So try to stay away from the slow, draggy stuff. But mid or up tempo and it kind of feels good, absolutely. Dubstep's a little bit on the way out. I'd probably maybe lean more towards the future bass, which is a little bit more relevant in the last couple of years. All right. Corvus, how many compositions should one go for in a day on a daily basis? And what if you can do it all too, if like mix and master? Should I only designate only 2 or 3 days a week for that, produce the rest of the week? It's up to you. You can definitely do that where you produce tracks 2, 3 days of the week and then you mix and master those tracks towards the end. But I would say per week, I don't know about per day, but per week, I would say you should be finishing, mixing and mastered, completely finished, 2 or 3 tracks per week. I'd say that's the minimum you should be shooting for. So that means, yeah, basically every 2 days, you should have a track completely done. So however you need to schedule that around your day job or whatever other obligations you have, then, make those changes as well. But definitely 2 to 3 tracks per week. I think that's going to be your minimum to build your catalog up fast enough to start seeing some income within the first couple of years of your experience here in the business. Sign sounds. When you submit an album to a library, do you have to input all your metadata yourself into each track? No, usually not. You're not going to have to. Some libraries might have specific metadata requirements, but just ask them before you submit your tracks. Okay. Most of the time, they're going to handle the metadata themselves because they have a very particular way that they want to get it done. They want to make sure that things don't get screwed up, and that a track doesn't sort of get lost in their catalog when a client's looking for it. But sometimes they will ask you to help out with it. They might give you an Excel sheet and they'll say like, here, fill out all this metadata. So for the most part, no, you're not going to have to. If they do, though, they will let you know. And if they don't say anything about metadata when you're submitting your album that they've already accepted, ask them. Say, what do you guys need? Alt mixes, stems, metadata. Let me know exactly what you guys need to make sure that this is going to be really great for you. Okay, let's see. None other than Nigel. Nigel, what's up, man? Is it the norm for exclusive libraries to reject submissions from producers who are with PROs? I've noticed several exclusive libraries requiring this. Is it good or bad? I'd say that's pretty bad because your PROs are where you're going to earn your back end royalties. So it sounds like it's more a royalty-free sort of a thing where they're basically saying we're going to give you your upfront licensing fee when we get something placed, but we're not doing any back-end royalties. So take it or leave it. You know, if those upfront fees they're giving you to get your tracks through them are massive, then maybe it's worth forfeiting those back-end royalties. But I personally don't like that kind of a model because my royalties is what have kept me afloat in this business when there were slow points in my career. Would libraries offer a contract if quality could be an issue? Probably not. If they don't like the quality of your tracks, they're probably not going to offer a contract. Terrell, good question. After putting together an album, do you need to put an album cover for each one? That's not necessary, but if you want to go that even extra step, that's even above and beyond what I recommend. That's way up there in terms of all-star stuff. If you want to put together or find someone or yourself, if you have some decent designing ideas, putting something like that together can certainly be very, show a lot of professional consideration for them. Just don't be surprised if they go, cool, we're not going to use that because they probably have their own artists and they have their own design that they need to do to brand and market their music. So, but yeah, absolutely. It's one extra. It's really not necessary. They do not expect producers or composers to do that, but it does show a little bit more consideration on your part. All right. Random Knox. When I submit an instrumental, should I submit a version with vocals? And do I rename it or can I split them up into two different libraries? No, so you need to not be, if it's an exclusive contract you're doing and it's a track that has vocals, all of those tracks are going to go to that one exclusive library. And what you would do is just call it an alt mix, right? So you're going to have your full mix, which has the vocals. Then you'll have the instrumental mix, which does not have the vocals. Then you might have one that has no leads, 30 seconds, 60 second, a sting. You might have a bunch of different versions of it. But no, definitely not splitting those up into two different, like, well, this is a completely different song because this one doesn't have the vocals, so I can go to another exclusive library. No, you're going to get in some big trouble when you start doing that kind of stuff. EKM, what are your thoughts on libraries that allow you to upload your music and you manually have to choose the option to make it exclusive or not? That's normal. I mean, that's just one way that some of them do it. Some of them do that in the form of a contract. So they'll actually have you sign a contract and then you get to decide on there which terms do you want, exclusive or non-exclusive. And so that's usually there because they have different considerations for the clients and opportunities that they get music placed into. So you just have to weigh, you know, what are you getting with the exclusive that you wouldn't be getting with a non-exclusive and decide which one you want to go with. So that's just another way for them to do that. But they offer that in contracts. I've seen that in some of the contracts I've been offered to. All right, Tommy, then how would you recommend a solo artist like me, all instruments, approach licensing while releasing an album, but doesn't have a buzz? So basically what you would do if you're trying to build a fan base and you want to become an artist and that's really your primary focus, is that you, can go to non-exclusive libraries because they're not going to have any problem with that. Right, because you're not exclusive. They're not asking for any exclusive distribution rights to your music. So you can go to many non-exclusive libraries, or like we just talked about before, if there's a library that offers both options, you just select the non-exclusive so that you always know that you're going to be free and clear of that. Again, you can submit that music that's been released publicly to an exclusive library, but let them know, let them know, let them know. Tell them. Don't keep that a secret. Don't think, it doesn't matter. It does matter because if you don't tell them and they assume that they're 100% distributing your music by themselves exclusively, they discover your tracks are out there on Spotify, on iTunes, on social media, it could be a breach of the contract. So that's why you want to make sure that from day one, you let them know, here's a link to my Spotify. Here's a link to where this album actually sits. But I would like you guys to exclusively distribute it for licensing considerations. That's where they might be open to that, to say, okay, keep making your money, selling it directly to fans or streaming or anything like that. But these tracks, when it comes to sync licensing, 100% needs to come through us and stay with us. So just let them know. Yeah, Brad's got a good point there. His library changes it to whatever they want, even song titles. Absolutely, the library absolutely has every right to market your music, to change it if they think there's going to be a title that'll be more appropriate to let people find your tracks. They're going to do all that kind of stuff, and they have absolute every right to do that. All right. All right, so Tommy, in other words, what if licensing isn't our number one plan, but being a public artist isn't either? How to walk the line in between the two? Bad move. Don't do that. Don't just dabble in a little bit of both. we don't really want to focus on anything in particular because we have these couple of different things that we're going to do. How does that make you feel as an investor? Do you feel more confident in their path forward as opposed to somebody that comes to you and says, invest in my company because we are going to serve this niche community with this very powerful, proven product or service that's absolutely going to make their lives better and solve a problem? Which one of those seems like there's going to be success coming on board, right? You got to decide what's more important to you. Do you want to build the artist thing? Do you want to build the fan base? Do you want to get the social media stuff? The more of the public spotlight thing. If that's really where your heart's telling you to go there. You can do a little bit of licensing on the side for a supplemental source of income. If that's not where you want to go, leave it behind. Go to sync licensing. So I don't think that's a great move to be sort of put in both camps and kind of like, well, we'll see what happens. Because what's going to happen is you get a little bit of play with your sync licensing, and then that's going to slow down. So you'll think, oh, that was the wrong move. I got to go to my artist thing. Meanwhile, your artist thing, you've put that to sleep for a while, and like everybody forgot about you. So now you have to build all that up, and then you neglect your sync licensing. Meanwhile, 6 months later, you get this massive royalty check. And you're like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have done that. Now you've lost all those relationships you got over here. That's what's going to happen when you dabble on both sides. So I think make your choice. If it's not sync licensing, that's great. It's not for all producers, but definitely make your choice and just stick with it. Ben, favorite plugins for mastering and tips, all that stuff's in Sync Academy, man. So definitely, if you're not a member, definitely check out and consider joining, because we have dozens and dozens of tutorials on mastering. It's too big of a topic to get into here, so definitely consider joining. All right, you're welcome, Corvus. Awesome. All right, guys, I think I've gone through the gamut there. So thank you so much for participating in this test live stream. I'm glad that it's working. It looks like so far it's been great. And I haven't had any issues, which is really, really cool. So I think I've got somewhat of a solution for now. We'll see what happens in the future. So thank you guys so much for paying attention. Got another great video for you guys tomorrow, Wednesday. And then on Friday, we have our next a podcast that's coming up. And again, please do leave me that review on the Apple Podcast app. I really do appreciate that. It'll really make my podcast more visible and available for other producers, just like you guys who are out there looking for some way to make some money with their music. And this is absolutely one of those powerful ways to do that. So thank you so much for participating, and we'll see you guys very soon. Stay tuned tomorrow. I got a great video for you.